Good morning and welcome to Carolina Cares, an iHeartMedia production. My name is Tyler Ryan, your host, and today we're going to tackle a couple of topics that can hit kind of close to home, right? Dealing with our kids, two afflictions that can have a lifelong impact on not only a child, but the family and every person and every soul that a child comes in contact with. We're going to talk about SMA, the spinal muscular atrophy. In fact, our friend Adam and his son Leo, you might be familiar with Leo's Pride, great organization that is having an impact internationally on children and families that have had the difficult decision of a child who was diagnosed with SMA. And while we're talking about kids and a very similar, however different type of affliction, and that is polio. Polio having been eradicated from the United States, or at least being diagnosed and originating in the U.S. in 1979. Surprisingly, there are surprisingly few cases left, or new original cases left in the world. I say surprisingly because it would seem it's so small, it would not take much to knock this affliction out. Unfortunately, it is still prevalent in some areas. We're going to learn more about polio, what it is, what's being done, and where exactly there still is a risk of polio. And if you're perhaps have a couple of miles on you, you may remember things like the pool scares where you didn't want to swim if there was somebody who had contracted polio. Very interesting conversations we'll have this morning on Carolina Cares. We'll start that off in just a couple of minutes. Do not move.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com.
Stay focused. Now that's a major key alert.
Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Carolina Cares. My name is Tyler Ryan, and this morning we're talking about a very special foundation that was born out of probably some of the most heartbreaking news you could get into a story of inspiration for a young family. Joining me this morning, the president of Leo's Pride Foundation. Now, I'm going to butcher your name, but I'm going to try it. Adam Baginski.
Nailed it, Tyler.
Did I really?
You nailed it. Listen, all the years of playing sports growing up, I've heard that name many different ways. I had to really sell my wife on accepting that as a last name, but you got it right.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right in to Leo's Pride. Leo's Pride surrounds a foundation surrounding an affliction, I guess a diagnosis of SMA, which is spinal muscular atrophy. I am not a doctor. Can you kind of explain to me what SMA is?
Yeah, so spinal muscular atrophy, in the quick way that we lay it out a lot of times, is it's like ALS in adults, but in children. It's a muscle wasting condition. And Tyler, just you and I standing here today, the reason we're standing here today is because we have an SMN1 gene. It's the survival motor neuron gene. And that gene is responsible for creating a protein that allows our body, our muscles to thrive. Mm-hmm. A person that's diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy typically does not have that SMN1 gene. Okay. And so therefore, when the proteins aren't being created through this gene, our motor neurons start to die off, and that's what creates muscle wasting in these kids and in these adults.
Right, and if you think about it, then your muscles are, when you move or wave at somebody, you pick up a pen, that's all, your neurons firing your muscles know what to do, and you lack that piece. You may be thinking move and doesn't move.
Absolutely, and that you hit on a really good piece there. SMA does not affect the brain. Mm-hmm. You know, when we got this diagnosis for Leo, we were 3 weeks into being brand new parents, and we had every thought of what life was going to be like for us, and things changed. One of the really great things that came to us in that news was SMA does not affect the brain. Right. So while the body has debilitating issues that it deals with because of this condition, the brain is not impacted. And so today, Leo's taking Spanish class as an almost fifth grader in his kindergarten. So,
well, let's back up a step then. And you know, we talked about Leo's Pride, but there's a reason why you know so much about it, and that's your son Leo. Diagnosed, you said 3 weeks after birth?
Yep, we were diagnosed 3 weeks after birth. Meredith and I, we grew up out in Chapin. We just moved back home to Chapin. We were planning this life, and right. Leo was born, and we knew right away that there was something going on. And like any parent does, any person does, when you're concerned, you start looking things up, and everything on that list started leading us towards this diagnosis. So right. When we got the diagnosis, we really did go back home and for you know, the best way to describe it, shuttered the doors and the windows and just really drew in close as a family and tried to wrap our minds around what was life going to be like. How does this happen to us? Right. And I got to tell you, Tyler, that was a really short period of time, because we realized that we had this incredible gift that God had given us, this opportunity to be parents, this really just this beautiful little boy that needed us to be strong, needed us to make good decisions. And so we just said, this isn't how we're going to live. We're going to be happy. We're going to go out and we're going to pursue life in a way that we would want any child that we have to be able to pursue life. And the cool thing is we've got an incredible family that surrounds us. We've got an incredible community that surrounds us, where every time we say, hey, here's what we want to do, they say, yeah, we'll go do it with you, or we'll support you in making that happen.
And Leo was your first child. How many now siblings does he have?
Leo's got a little sister named Veda. Veda is going to be turning 11 months old, and she has been, it's interesting. We've had Leo for almost 5 years now, and you and I were talking earlier, when you get a diagnosis, the initial prognosis that was given to us for Leo was 8 months to 2 years. And so you're like, how we got to cram things into this short amount of time. But Leo's turning 5 now, coming up at his race, and now he's got a little sister that's 10 months old. And as parents, we've had this really unique opportunity to have 2 different parenting experiences. One that's very much centered, that is no different than anybody. You just love your children. But we've had this opportunity to really be there and support and challenge and push and have this unique experience of being a parent of a child with a difficult diagnosis, a child with special needs. And now we have Veda, who's a typically developing child. And we have no doubt, is going to grow up to be somebody that is going to be Leo's advocate, Leo's staunch supporter, and somebody that's going to fight for him. And but to be able to see both sides of parenting, it's nice to be able to see what really centers on what our foundation truly pushes for, is that every kid thrives the same way. You treat them with love, you treat them with dignity and respect, and you just give them opportunities to be kids. It's the same for adults. You give us an opportunity to be a part of things, and that's what we want.
Right. What leads up to that diagnosis of SMA? I mean, is it hereditary? Is it just something that happens? There's so many things. If you smoke 10 packs of cigarettes a day, you're going to get lung cancer. That's just kind of A plus B equals C. Is there anything that would have given you concern initially in the pregnancy?
Now that we're educated parents within this condition, we could look back on it, and Meredith would tell you that she did notice there was reduced fetal movement, that looking back on it, maybe there's things that she could have picked up on. But as brand new parents, and because this is a genetic condition, it's autosomal recessive, meaning that we both have to be carriers of a defective gene in order for Leo to be affected with the condition. So looking back on it, we could say there's some things that we could have seen during pregnancy, but that would have been so tough to think as new parents.
Right. And that wouldn't have stopped, and it wouldn't have changed the eventual diagnosis either way.
Absolutely not. It wouldn't have changed the diagnosis. Leo was going to be born at that point with SMA. 1 in 50 people are carriers of the defective SMA gene. So if you got 100 people in a room, 2 people in that room are carriers. Meredith and I went to Chapin High School. I graduated with 170 kids. She might have had 200 kids in her class. So you think, here's a small town, and these kids meet each other. They manage to find their way through life and get married and have children. So the odds are extremely rare of this happening. However, it's considered it's an orphan disease, a rare disease, but it's kind of common. It's the number 1 cause of genetic mortality in kids under the age of 2. Okay. We talked about that initial prognosis of 8 months to 2 years. Mm-hmm. So you, and I think it's a 100% natural reaction, whether diagnosis is breast cancer or SMA in your newborn. You do exactly what I think I would do. A lot of people, you think nobody else is going through this. What are we going to do? You go home, you circle the wagons, and exactly what we said, you close-knit. But you said it didn't last very long, because all of a sudden now you've got this foundation, and that's Leo's pride. So tell me kind of how that came about. I mean, obviously, you opened the shutters and said, hey, this is us, right? Absolutely, yeah. And, we've got friends. The way that Leo's Pride Foundation came about was not Meredith or I saying, we want a foundation to go out and help families like ours. What happened is, in this first year of Leo's life, we had doctor's appointments, as you can imagine. We're driving to Wisconsin, we're driving to Duke. And as we're doing all this, we're doing it without the aid of a medically accessible vehicle to safely transport Leo, because he requires specific harnessing to be safe as he's traveling. Right. And we had some friends and family that decided they wanted to have a 5K, they wanted to raise money, they wanted to buy us a medically accessible van so that Leo in his wheelchair could safely go everywhere he needed to go, to truly be able to get back out and have adventures, pursue life like any little boy, any little kid would want to. So that first year we got this van and we saw what it did for us. We talked about throwing the shutters open, coming back out and saying, all right, world, this is us and we're coming. The van really did that for us. Sitting back and reflecting on it as a family, talking with our friends, we said, look, we'd really like to have an opportunity to do this for other families. And that's where Leo's Pride Foundation came into play. It was our first big impact, was to create opportunities of mobility for families. So it could be buying medically accessible vans for families in need. Mm-hmm. We donated to medical equipment pools for kids that were diagnosed with SMA to bridge the gap between insurance covering the things that they needed in order to just really continue to open the world back up. To the point where now Leo's Pride Foundation, this is our 4th year as a foundation. We've raised over $600,000.
Good night.
We've donated 6 or 7 vans to families all across the country, local families here. We found a family in the United Kingdom that was in desperate need of a van. We were able to help them get their kid Harrison a medically accessible van. And the foundation has channeled that opportunity of mobility into another path, which is inclusion. Mm-hmm. When we look out, I'll give you a great story. Leo and I and Meredith and Veda, we go to playgrounds all the time, right? That's what you take your kid to a playground to go and play. Now imagine you're a 4-year-old kid and you've been talking to your mom all day long. I'm going to the playground. You get to that playground and just like every other playground you've gone to, you sit on the outside and watch all the kids play because your wheelchair can't get to it. It's not designed for you. And that's what we started to really see, is we just haven't designed our communities. We haven't designed our cities to be as inclusive as we could be, inclusive as we should be even.
Right.
And so we're starting to find these opportunities where as a foundation we can shine a light, we can advocate for better design, better building. And the big project, the big inclusion project we're working on this year is in partnering with Saluda Shoals Park to build a universally inclusive playground. That's universally amazing. Inclusive playgrounds, Tyler, these things are amazing. Every piece of equipment on this playground has been thoughtfully chosen, has been talked about in meetings to meet the need of every single kid that could come. Typically developing kids, a kid like my son, an exceptional kid in a wheelchair. It could be a parent coming home from, it could be a parent coming home from war that had an injury and all they've been thinking about is playing on a playground with their kid, but that injury has them in a wheelchair and they're not able to get up and go be a part of the playground. These playgrounds open that back up and allow people of all abilities to interact, and it really teaches us from a young age why inclusion is so important. We've seen it firsthand where kids will come play with Leo without even thinking about the equipment that's on his wheelchair. They just see a little boy and they found an opportunity to play with him.
And I love, and not that there's anything wrong with when something happens to a family and you see a lot of people, okay, I'm going to do a fundraiser because you want to protect your kid. I love the fact that, initially your foundation started because friends, you didn't go out and say, hey, poor us, give us free money. But your friends got you that, but what you saw was the impact it had on your family. So you've kind of reversed engineered the whole thing. And so Leo's Pride, becomes not even as much about your particular story, but everybody, the inclusiveness of every parent, because it's not an unusual situation, unfortunately. You're not alone. And that's, I think, a big thing we talked about before. When you get a heartbreaking diagnosis, it's easy to go, I'm the only one no one's ever gone through this before. But that's simply not true.
Yeah, you're right. Leo's name, Leo, we looked at that, and one of the things that came to mind was love everyone. Not love everyone, like let's try to love everyone, but let's love everyone as an individual. And that's what the community did for us. They looked at Leo, they looked at our family, and they just loved us as an individual family, and that allowed us to just open back up and just have this incredible life that we've had these last 5 years. And so we've channeled that into kind of our driving mantra is love everyone. We find families and individually just focus on them, advocate for them, love them, and then create opportunities where every kid as an individual can come and be a part of it. And you're right, inclusion. Mm-hmm. It really pushes the inclusion boundaries to where if you can be creative, if you can think of it, there are people that are going to want to come together and make that happen.
Talking with Adam Baginski, the father of Leo Baginski, and then leospride.org is the organization. Real quick, I know you have an annual race. You got a 5K coming up. I know the F3 guys are involved in the wheels, the great big. I love that wheelchair. By the way, that thing's crazy. The need for speed.
Speed for need.
Speed for need.
Yep,
I knew I'd
Speed
get
for
it.
Need. Yeah, so the race that we have coming up, we do it every year. It's Go Leo. We'll have it out at Saluda Shoals Park on the east entrance. You can register for the race at leospride.org, or you can go to runhard.org/Leo, Leo. And it's it's amazing. The Speed for Need guys, this is their second year doing this with us. We got a video up on leospride.org. You can take a look at it. Tyler, I'll share it with you as well. But last year they came to the race, and they have these custom-built wheelchair race chairs from the Hoyt Foundation. And kids that want to be able to compete. And again, this is that inclusion piece that Speed for Need gets perfectly. The F3 guys get it perfectly. Kids that want to be able to compete, want to be able to be a part of a 5K, but like our son Leo, maybe can't complete that race on their own, get the opportunity to be a track commander. They get to ride in these chairs and have just this incredible experience. They've got these videos from races all across the Carolinas where you see people get to enjoy life, enjoy living, get to be a part of the experience, the community, and so yeah, come on out. The race starts at 8:30. Packet pickup's going to be at 8 o'clock. But go to leospride.org or runhard.org/Leo. Come be a part of the day. All the money goes towards buying these medically accessible vans and funding this universally inclusive playground.
I love it, Adam Baczynski. I love that you have taken the potentially heartbreaking news, and I'm sure it is a little bit, but you've turned that around and made it something international and amazing. So we thank you for that.
Tyler, thanks for having me in, and we will go and do whatever we can do to help families out, and it's not without the support of folks like you, so thanks. We'll
put links for you too at WVOC under the Carolina Cares tab as well. Stay with us. Carolina Cares is coming right back.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Carolina Cares. We've heard of polio, right? Yeah, polio, or I'm going to get this wrong, poliomyelitis. I'm going to get corrected on that in just a second. But basically, it is an infectious disease that can cause lifelong paralysis. And believe it or not, as recently as the 1950s, there were more than 15,000 outbreaks annually in this country alone of polio, including a president, FDR. Now, since 1979, there have not been any new cases in the United States of polio. And that's because of the hard work, certainly in part by Rotary International, but working with eradication of this disease. Joining me from Rotary International, Mary Gass. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How much did I butcher the actual real name of polio?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I think it is actually poliomyelitis.
Poliomyelitis. This is why I'm not a doctor.
That's why I'm not a doctor either, because I might have butchered it myself.
So let's talk just a little bit about polio. So that's kind of what it is. It's a paralysis that occurs?
It is, and it affects mostly children 5 and under. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people don't know is if you had even a very rare case of polio as a child, as you get older, the muscles start to deteriorate.
Right.
And it's because of the polio. So it's a lifelong disease if you have it.
Right.
It doesn't
we
go away.
Reference, of course, FDR. We all know those iconic images of him in his wheelchair in the White House, and that's because of polio, because of that.
Right.
That affliction.
We had a gentleman speak at our conference last year, John Nanny, and he had polio. And as the years go on, John gets worse and worse, and he's to the point now that he can barely stand, where at one point in time he could, but that's because polio was in his system, and he will never recover from it.
Now, we mentioned on the onset, and right before we went on the air, for some reason I knew 1979 it had been eradicated. It's one of those weird facts that you just stick in your head. I don't know why I knew that, but I verified that that's the case with the CDC website. But since 1979, no new cases of polio originating in the U.S., but it has been brought back into the U.S. because it's not fully eradicated around the world.
Exactly, and what we like to say is that it's just a plane ride away. Right. And the reason that's a problem is because there are children in the United States that have never been vaccinated. So if somebody from Afghanistan or Pakistan, where we still have live cases, were to come back into the United States carrying the virus, and one of these children were to get it, we could be in full-blown outbreak again in the United States. Okay. And that's the reason it's so important. to finish this job.
And this may be certainly above my pay grade, maybe above yours, but we've got the vaccine here in the U.S., and it's been obviously in effect for 30 some odd years. My math is a little fuzzy. What do we need to do to eradicate it internationally? Why is it still around if there's a vaccine that's readily available?
Because you're working with countries that have a lot of outlying areas that are hard to get to. Secondly, the people don't trust us. They don't understand. It's hard to communicate the importance of this. And until we can do that, and that's why it's costing so much, is because we have to go into areas that are hard to get to, and the people don't know us, don't trust us, don't understand it. And that's a reason.
So you kind of showed me, and you said, how do I illustrate this on the radio? And you showed me about an inch or inch and a half. Just picture
it's like
picture that Special K you used to pinch the inch. Remember that TV commercial?
Pinch the inch, or if you asked your grandmother how much salt to put in something, she would say, just a pinch. So we're just really that close. And I think rather than using that pinch or that close symbol, what they're saying now is it's a countdown.
Okay.
We're just on the final countdown.
How many cases, do we know how many cases there are worldwide, or how many new cases?
Right now, in 2017, there were 22 wild polio cases.
20, and all the billions of people in the world.
In the world.
We are that close.
Those two countries were Afghanistan and Pakistan. Right now, this year, 2018, there are only 19 known cases.
That's good.
Again, just those two countries. You have to go 3 years without any new cases before you can be declared polio-free.
Okay.
So those are the two countries that we're working on. There's one country that is we're waiting for that third year, but so far, fingers crossed, we're good on that.
So I say you collectively with Rotary International are celebrating the World Polio Day with a rally, and that's coming up on the 24th.
Wednesday, the 24th, State House steps. If you come, not if you come, please come.
There you go.
Wear red. 1 o'clock. We'll have some speakers, and it's really just to celebrate what we're doing and to educate what we're doing, so that we can get the word out that we're almost polio free.
Now, tell me a bit about Rotary International. I mean, obviously, this is a Rotary. This is one of the initiatives of Rotary. Tell me a little bit about Rotary International. Why that's such a passion button for you folks.
Rotary takes on different causes all the time, and they took on this cause years ago because they saw the need for it.
Right.
And they figured because we're a global organization, this would be a perfect fit for us. It was so good, in fact, that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation signed on to help us with this.
Right.
And they do a 2-to-1 match up to $50 million per year.
I'm sorry, 50 million?
50 million.
2-to-1.
2-to-1.
So if I give $1 today, they'll give $2, making it $3 if my math is not that fuzzy.
2-to-1 match up to $50 million per year.
Wow. That's a lot of that's probably not enough, but obviously much needed funds.
He believes in it, and we work with the World Health Organization as well. So there are other people that have joined in with us to help us get rid of this dreadful disease. Sure.
Now not to say it doesn't exist, because there are people who still live with it every day. So we're talking, I want to make sure I understand too, we're not talking about making it just go away and won't exist. It's new cases, so no longer will young children be afflicted, and it will affect
exactly.
them.
It's, if you have it, you've always had it.
Right.
And if you've been vaccinated, you will never get it.
Okay.
So we're talking about new cases.
Right.
Not people that already have.
Sure, and I just want to make sure I understood that I was talking about the right thing. So we're talking with Mary Gask, from Rotary Club International about the event coming up on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It's at the State House stairs. Right. And you want to wear red and come out. And obviously, funding. That's what you're trying to do, is raise money and awareness, because you're going to need that money, thanks to Bill and Melinda Gates as well.
Right. Exactly. And we're not actually going to be collecting money. If you want to give some money, we'll have a pot there that you can put some money in, but we're not asking for it. What we're asking for is you to come celebrate the fact that we're doing this, and that we're so very close to eliminating it. And I got to put a plug in for the 5 Points Rotary Club, because that's actually where I am a member.
Well, there you are.
And my husband has been working with me on this, Ken, and he's a member of Lake Murray Irmo Rotary. So we're a Rotary family. Come out and...
We call that a shout out in the business.
A shout out. That was a shout out.
Shout out.
Got it.
It's amazing. You go from 15,000 new cases every year just in the U.S. Do we know, and I don't know, and you may not, but, how prevalent it was all the way through? I mean, obviously, it wasn't just a U.S., obviously not just a U.S. Affliction, but it must have been quite profound in a lot of areas.
I'll tell you one fact that kind of surprised me. In 1916, there was a major polio outbreak in New York City that killed more than 2,000 people.
Wow. In 1916?
1916.
Now remember, 1916 New York, that's a significant amount of the population. It's not like it is today, kids.
Right. And it paralyzed about 6,000 people that year. So, I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And to get rid of it and to know that you're safe and you won't ever have to worry about that disease again is a big deal.
Right. And you know, I think and it's been educational for me as well. I mean, I think most people at least heard polio don't know what it is really, but that's it's just very interesting how it impacts you and the fact that we're down to 19 new cases. Good gracious.
In the world.
Yeah, and I love
Global.
I love that. Not just in Colombia. We're talking the world.
The world. And the world.
Mary Gask from Rotary International and the 5 Points Rotary specifically, and of course a shout out to Ken Gask, and you're the Irmo Lexington. There you go.
Irmo Lake Murray.
Irmo Lake Murray, Rotary International. We're going to put links for you at our website right there at WVOC. Just click on the Carolina Cares tab, and you get some information on that. But certainly take a late lunch on Wednesday. That's coming up on the 24th at 1 o'clock. Run to the State House grounds. Put on some red. Red always looks good.
Put on some red and
it's a fall color.
celebrate. Right. It's a fall color.
And just come out and celebrate and get a little learned knowledge. And maybe if you're so struck, maybe you can help Bill and Melinda Gates spend a couple of their dollars, right?
That would be fabulous.
Mary Gask, thank you so much for joining us here on Carolina Cares. And in fact, Carolina Cares, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
More than 8,000 children in South Carolina need a caring adult to serve as their voice in family court. The time guardian ad litem volunteers spend investing in these children can change their lives forever. To volunteer, you must be 21 years old, able to pass a background check, and passionate about serving children. Become a guardian ad litem volunteer today and make a difference for tomorrow. For more information on how you can help, visit scgal.org. That's scgal.org.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Did you know that you can make an impact in your community by shopping with the Salvation Army? Come out to the new Salvation Army Family Store located in Ballantyne on Dutch Fork Road. We have great deals on clothes, furniture, household goods, accessories, and more. When you shop at our Salvation Army Family Store, all of the proceeds go back to support our social services programs that help those in need here in the Midlands. It's easy to make a difference in your community. Come visit us at 1341 Dutch Fork Road in Ballantyne. You can also visit us online at doingthemostgood.org.
Welcome back to Carolina Cares. It is hard not to be inspired by the story of Adam and of course, and young Leo. How can you not realize the family, the Baczynski family, having the diagnosis of their son, SMA, the spinal muscular atrophy, being told the prognosis is 8 months to 2 years, and 5 years later, Lil Leo is still going strong and still inspiring people, not only across the Midlands. You might remember just the other day, in fact, at USC, there was a rowathon. And the big run coming up next weekend as well, and polio. So close, that inch that Mary was discussing, that tiny little thing left. All it's going to take to eradicate polio from the world. 19 people away at this point. And so don't forget, Polio Day is coming up on Wednesday. That's October 24th at 1 o'clock. That's happening at the State House grounds. And you do not want to miss out on the race. Yeah, that's going to be fun. You can check out leospride.org or check out runhard.org. We'll put links for you at the WVOC website, just under that Carolina Cares tab. We'll put links for you as well for some of these great organizations. And if you'd like to appear or have an idea of a guest you would like to hear on Carolina Cares, you can drop me an email. It's tylerryan@iheartmedia.com. Once again, one word, tylerryan@iheartmedia.com. And I guess you can guess my name from that, right? Yeah, just the old TR, sure enough. But this has been Carolina Cares, an iHeartMedia production. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will talk to you in 7 days.